Shabbat shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
I'm the prophet Shem.
Azariah.
Brother Yoam.
We come out here, we are the Israelites, not the Equalites. I.N.E. if we keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, we're above all people on the face of the earth.
That's right.
We don't come out here to get in confrontation, but we do come out here to bring what thus says our God Yahawah and his son Yahawah. Am I right, brothers?
That's right.
And so we're going to have a discussion today about government corruption. How it was in the old days and how it is still today. By the same people that did it yesterday are the same ones that's still responsible for government corruption today. All right, let's go, brother.
Second Exodus chapter 8, verse 1 and 3.
Read what the Bible say, brother.
And he answered me, saying, the Most High have made this world for many.
It says that the Most High has made this world for many. Read.
But the world to come for a few.
But the world that's to come is going to only be for a few. That's going to be the sorting out. That's going to be coming back to collect the elect. That's going to be coming back to collect the 1/3 of the 12 tribes. Read.
I will tell thee a similitude as when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee.
What did it say, brother?
That it giveth much born, whereof earth's vessels are made, but little dust that go cometh of even so is the course of this present world.
The course of this present world is sin. Don't nobody want to do what the Most High want them to do.
That's
Everybody
right.
want to do their own thing. Everybody want to follow the government. We know that we have to obey things, what they say, but we have to obey God first.
That's right.
And God will give us the power to be able to obey while we over here in captivity. Am I right, brothers?
That's right.
That's what the Bible is saying. Read what you got, my brother.
There'll be many created, but few shall be saved.
There's going to be many what, brother?
Shall be saved.
There shall be many what?
Many created, but few shall be saved.
There's only going to be a few that's going to be saved. Everybody that's opened this book, everybody that's wearing fringes, everybody that's got beards, don't mean that you're going to the kingdom. You better get yourself together and keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And you can be able to find the Most High God while he's available.
That's right.
The First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 7.
Read, brother.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
See, we talking about Alexander, the one that we was learning about in school, that they calling about Alexander the Great. We're talking about Alexander the Greek, because that's who it's talking about, the most powerful warrior that has ever been.
That's right.
Read.
And his servants bear rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
See, when Alexander died, before he died, he gave all his homeboys parts of different territories all over the world. And they made themselves king. And so did their sons. Read.
So did their sons after them. Many years and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root. Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Of the Greeks. Read.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
There was wicked men. They came out of where, brother?
Of Israel.
Our people.
Who persuade many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
You see? That's the same thing that they tell us today. They are called coons. And they say, let us go and make a covenant with who, my brother?
The heathen.
The heathen is anybody that is a part of the other nation. The other 17 nation of people are considered heathen. Read.
That are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
You see, they think just because the same way it was they talking about when they was going through the wilderness, when Moses led them out. They were still having problems, grumbling and everything. Talking about why God bring us out of Egypt in order to be able to kill us in the wilderness. Same thing. This Bible is true. It tells us about the same people being disobedient and the same people doing atrocities against us. Read.
So this device pleased them.
So the things that they did, it pleased them. They loved what it was that was going on. They didn't like the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. They loved everything else but what it is that God said.
That's right.
Read what you got, brother.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof.
Read.
And all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
You see the house of Jacob, the Israelites, they were confused because their people had sold them out. They was used to doing one thing, but the governing body went against what it was that God said.
That's right.
So it confused the Israelites. Read.
And after 2 years, fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude.
See, they came with a great multitude. They had a lot. That's how they were being able to defeat people.
That's right.
They was coming with 5,000 and 10,000, and other people had 2,000 and 3,000. That's how Alexander was able to defeat all these people, because his artillery that he had was so much more advanced than the artillery that the other people were using. Read.
And spake peaceably words unto them.
He spoke real good words to them. The same thing that the white man did to the native Indians when he came over and he spoke our language and said shalom. And they was amazed when he said that, because they had never seen or heard a person of that complexion being able to speak their language. Read.
But all was deceit.
It was what, brother?
Deceit.
It was deceit what they were doing. The same thing they doing yesterday, they are doing the same thing today. Read on.
For when they have given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the cities and smote it very sore.
Read.
And destroyed much people of Israel.
And destroyed the people of Israel.
That's
because
right.
the Bible always tells us never to trust our enemy. And that's what they did. They trusted their enemy.
That's
and
right.
every time you do that, you always come out on the short end of the stick. Read.
And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire.
He did what, brother?
He set it on fire.
They set the city on fire after he had to kill the Israelites. Then they set the city on fire. See, all these atrocities that's going on, there will be a recompense on that day when the Most High returns.
And pulled down the houses and walls thereof.
They shut it down because nobody could be able to see anything inside. They was building something totally different. Read.
On every side, But the women and children
But the women and the children
took their captives and possessed the cattle.
See, they took the women because the women can reproduce, and they took the children.
That's right.
You see, they didn't take the men, they killed them. Because they didn't want no power. They didn't want anybody going against them. So they took the women and they took the children.
That's right.
See?
Verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning.
Read.
Her Sabbaths into reproach.
That's what's going on right now today. The Sabbath has become a reproach to all the Israelites. They're going over there shopping, they are buying, they are selling, and making God's seventh day a reproach.
Her honor into contempt.
They contempt the Lord our God.
As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased.
All the things, keeping the seventh day, the holy feasts and everything, that was our glory. But when we went against it and started doing other things, it became what, brother?
Dishonor.
It became dishonor to the Most High God.
So was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom.
What did he write, brother?
That all should be one people.
That all should be one people.
That's right.
Read.
And everyone should leave his laws.
And that the Israelites should leave their laws, statutes, and commandments and start following his. Read.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandments of the king.
Everybody was agreeing because of the king. Read.
Yea, many also of the Israelites.
Of the who?
Israelites.
Of the who?
Israelites.
Read.
Consented to his religion.
They consented with this religion, Baptist, Church of God in Christ, Greek mythology, and all those things. But they didn't want to keep the commandments. Read.
That's right.
And sacrificed unto idols. And profaned the Sabbath.
And did very, very disrespect unto the seventh day.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah.
Read, brother.
That they should follow the strange laws of the land.
That they should follow the strange laws of the land. That they should follow some laws that they had never heard of. That they should follow some laws that they were not accustomed to. Read.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple. And that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
That's what they doing now. Instead of selling their festival days and the seventh day, they serving Christmas. They serving Thanksgiving.
That's right.
They serving the 4th of July. They serving Valentine's Day. They serving what? New Year. All those strange doctrines that's not a part of our history or our culture or tradition.
Verse 47. Set up altars. Salakia. Verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
They did all those things when they told us that we had to go do something else. It polluted our people, polluted their mind, and was contrary to the will of the Most High God.
47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols.
That's all they do. They're still doing it today.
And sacrifice swine flesh.
What kind of flesh?
Swine's flesh.
What kind of flesh?
Swine's flesh.
Pork, pig. That's what they were doing. On God's altar, they were sacrificing pork and pig.
And unclean beasts.
And what?
Unclean beasts.
And every kind of unclean beast. That's what they were doing. And they still doing it today. They doing swine, pork, catfish, lobster, crab. All those things.
That's right.
that they make a delicatessen in the store when God say we shouldn't even be touching that stuff. When you go to the store and you see a pork that's in a pack, you ain't supposed to even be touching it. Because it's defiled.
That's right.
And it's dirty and nasty and it's full of demons. Read.
Verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
That they shouldn't circumcise their children. That they should leave them uncircumcised.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
You see? All those things are done by the government officials. The same, they had the government back then, they had the Senate back
That's
then.
right.
The same way they do today, brothers and sisters. Everything is contrary to what God's will is. God tell you one thing, and they tell you another. God say obey him, and we disobey him, but we obey man.
That's right.
And not God.
Precept. The book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 14.
Read what the Bible say, brother.
And the uncircumcised man.
And the who?
And the uncircumcised man.
We're not talking about a spiritual circumcision. We're talking about a physical circumcision right now.
And the uncircumcised man, child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that so shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant.
That's what the Bible says, brothers and sisters. Believe what God say. God will not lead you wrong.
That's right.
But man will lead you wrong every single time. They are the cause of our demise today over here in the shores of North America.
That's right.
First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinance.
They're going to forget the laws, statutes, and the commandments and everything.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king.
If you didn't do what the king told you to do, what would happen, brother?
He said he should die.
They should what?
He should
die.
If you don't obey what the king said, you would die. That's what the Bible say.
In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
It was going through every city.
That's
because
right.
over in every one of those cities was the Israelites, were the Jews that were keeping the law.
That's right.
And they went and they turned them against the Most High God.
Then many of the people were gathered unto them. To wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
53, it says 64, right?
And drove the Israelites into secret places.
And they drove them to secret places. What do you mean by secret places? He drove them into seclusion. He drove them to hiding. That's what that means.
That's right.
Even wheresoever they could flee for even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now, the 15th day of the month, Kislew, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation.
Read, brother.
Upon the altar.
Upon what?
Upon the altar. And built it altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
On every side.
That's right.
Everywhere. That's what they did.
Brother, the Israelites. Yeah. You're Jacob's listening. You an Israelite, brother. You an Israelite. It's like your father's a so-called Hispanic, like of Indian descent. You're an Israelite, brother. I just have to tell you, bro. The Bible, when it's talking about the Israelites, it's talking about our people. If you don't believe me, you can read it. Read it for yourself and do research.
That's right.
Yep. And in Mexico, they got the lost lunar stone. And Paleo Hebrew, the 10 Commandments was written. Who did that?
That's right.
They were in that land.
That's right.
Watch along, brother. Where you at? 150 what?
55.
And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets.
Read.
Verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces,
And when they had tore up,
the books of the law,
when they had tried to tear up our book,
which they found, they burnt them with fire.
See? They didn't want us to know our history, brothers and sisters. That's why they did what they did. But in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, God say, hold fast to that which we have. Because it's enough until he returns.
God.
That's what the Bible say. So we don't have to worry about it. We got the law, statutes, and commandments that they could never destroy. And we're going to be able to keep that until the Most High God returns. Read what you got, brother.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 57.
Read.
And wheresoever was found with any the book of the Testament,
If you was found with any of the book of the Bible,
or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
if you didn't want to go by the king's commandment and you was keeping your own commandments, and if you were caught with any of the testimonies, the Bible, the king would have you put to death.
That's right.
Because that's what he wanted. He wanted to be above God. But there was no man above God. He is the beginning and the end. He is the Ancient of Days. He has no beginning and he has no end.
That's right.
Read, brother.
Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites,
Unto who?
Israelites, every month, to as many as were found in the cities.
Read, brother.
Now the 5th and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God.
So they defamed everything in the temple. Even the altar of the Most High God. They started doing strange things on God's altar. Read.
At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women.
Why did they put those women to death, brother? Read.
That had caused their children to be circumcised.
Because they caused their children to be circumcised. But the king wanted them to be uncircumcised so they could continue to stay in sin and go to hell. But the women didn't care. They circumcised their kids so they could keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. Read.
And they hanged the infants.
And wait a minute. What did the Bible say, brother?
And they hanged the infants.
They hung our little bitty babies.
About their necks.
They hung them. Read.
And rifled their house, and slew them that had circumcised them.
And they killed all the people, all the women that had circumcised the children They killed them.
That's right.
That's what they were, Greek freaks. Read, brother.
Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
See? We're not supposed to be eating. It's just like David. When David was down there, the king them tried to get him to eat that bad food. But he said, I bet you the food I got
That's right.
was better than the food you give your soldiers. And he gave it to them, and they ran a test. And the soldiers came back puny and scroggly. But David and the rest of them, they were what? They were powerful men, strong and muscular.
That's right.
Huh? Daniel. My bad.
Yeah, read.
Wherefore they choose rather to die.
The women that circumcised them young kids against the king's wishes, they chose to do what, brother?
They choose rather to die,
They chose whether to die.
that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they die.
See? They didn't care. There were some bold women. They didn't
That's
care
right.
about dying. Because they weren't going to profane the holy Sabbath. They weren't going to be eating all them defiled meats and everything. They was keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. But though they died the life that they died, this physical life, they had a spiritual life.
That's right.
And that's what's going to happen. A spiritual life. And they worship him in spirit and truth. Read.
And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
And there was great wrath upon Israel. There was great sadness upon Israel. There was a lot of things that was going on. Because it's hard when you're keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments, and you get killed. But see, the one that killed them, he don't have all power. It's the one that's going to redeem them that has all power.
That's right.
And that's the Most High God, Yahawah. And then he gave that authority to his son, Yahawah. Because there is a pecking order. Yahawah, man, woman, and children. And that's one of the things that causes us not to be able to be functional in this society today.
That's
because
right.
no one wants to do what the Bible says. They want to do their own thing. That's why they're in the situation that they're in today, and it's going to continue to be that way.